Welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Dee Dee, and this is Randy, and we're here at Frederick County Animal Control on Rosemont Avenue. And each week we bring you some adoptable pets that are at your local shelter so that you can think about adding a family member by adopting from the shelter, or you can help us get the word out by passing their pictures around to people who might be interested. Our first guest this morning is Mama, and Mama is a short-haired black and white cat who has lots of experience to offer her new family. Once she's chosen, she lived with 6 other cats, a dog, and a lot of busyness. So she is pretty mellow and can handle a lot. Sometimes if people are thinking about getting a second or even a third pet, they want to make sure that the animal has experience with other pets to make sure that they're gonna have the best chance of making a good match. So Mama definitely has that to offer. And you can clearly see right now, she is full grown. She is a year old, but she's tiny, and she's probably always gonna be tiny. There's not quite the variety in cat body shape as there is in dog body shape, but they certainly do have a variety in sizes with adults all the way from 4 to 6 pounds up to 15 or 16. So Mama is available for adoption, and as all of our cats are, she will be spayed and microchipped, started on her vaccinations. She is litter trained, and we will share any information that we have about her from her previous owner with you if you want to consider adopting her. One of the things that the shelter offers you is a large array of animals. In between April and October, we're going to get about 1,200 kittens, so, or at least we do each year up until now. I'd love to see that number go down. But we would like to find these adult cats a home before the kittens come in. And Mama is saying, yeah, that's just about enough of looking at the camera. So we're going to let her go back and finish her breakfast, and we'll be back in a moment with someone else. This is Chloe, and Chloe is a long-haired black and white cat. She has plenty of experience as well. She was in a house full of children, and they had a dog. In fact, the reason that they gave Chloe up is because she did not get along with their dog at all. So Chloe is 8 years old, and they had her first, and then they got a husky puppy. And Chloe made it very clear that she did not approve of the puppy. And as oftentimes happen when a family has to choose between family members, including pets, one wins, one doesn't win. So Chloe is here, and Chloe has extra toes, which is a common inherited trait of cats. Some people know that it's typical of the Hemingway cats in Key West. Is that where they are, the Hemingway cats? Somewhere tropical. And so we know it's an inherited trait. And Chloe is also declawed. We do often have people who are looking for cats who are declawed because there are some vets who will no longer perform the procedure. Many vets still do. And as you know, it's a controversial thing here at the shelter because we would certainly prefer that our cats not have to lose their claws, just as we would prefer that dogs not have to have their ears cropped or have any surgical procedures for human convenience. And but she has already been declawed. So if you are looking for a cat who is declawed, she might be the right one for you. We actually had someone who was interested in finding a declawed cat, and Chloe is older than she would like, so she was not a good match for her. As you can see, it's hard to imagine that Chloe wouldn't fit in just about anywhere. She loves people. She's very affectionate. And I wouldn't say that she couldn't be in a house with other dogs, but that might be what she prefers. The house that she came from, because they adopted a puppy and she didn't like that particular puppy, would be ideal if we could find her a home where there aren't any dogs at all. Sometimes a puppy is just too much for a cat, And they often people tell us stories about their cat is hiding under the bed since they got the puppy. And what we would like to do, if you have any friends that have such problems, is call us, because there are ways to introduce a cat and a dog together to make it more likely that they will form a lasting social and positive relationship for the both of them. But if a cat is shocked or upset by a new family member, they can hold a grudge. So it can be a little bit hard if the introduction has already gone badly and you want to undo it. But here at the shelter, our goal is to make sure that pets keep their home. So if you are having a problem between two pets, call. We'll try to help you out so that you don't have to bring a pet to the animal shelter. We do the best we can to find them a new home, but we are not always successful. And since we get almost 6,000 animals every year, it's really hard for us to find 6,000 people willing to take on an unwanted pet. Certainly within a short time, those that are adopted become very much wanted by their new family, and I expect that's exactly what's going to happen to Chloe. We are back with Zach, and Zach is still a kitten. He is just under a year old. He came to us as a stray, and he will, as all of our cats will by time of adoption, be neutered and started on his vaccines and microchipped. And what we know about Zachary is that he is, well, obviously, short-haired, beautiful gray cat. He is litter trained, friendly with people, and probably going to be pretty big because he's only about 10 or 12 months old, and he's already a full-size looking cat. But that also means that he still has the energy of a kitten. And as you can see, he's not hyper crazy or unable to sit here and be comforted by a person. We have all of our cats color-coded. So when you come in, if you're not sure which cat you should get, our blue cats, they have blue name tags, are the most likely, like Zach, to be lap cats and easy to handle by people of all ages. And then we have orange cats that are see, makes itself right at home. The orange name tag cats are cats that have all of the skills you would expect a pet cat to have. Litter trained, used to people. And then we have a third classification of green cats, and we use the color green kind of like you would say someone is a greenhorn, inexperienced. So these cats can either be kittens that are very playful, so they're going to need a lot of supervision, or they could be adult cats that are more shy. There was a day in Frederick County Animal Control's history where we weren't able to find homes for all of the cats we had unless they were absolutely perfect. They had to be healthy and friendly and outgoing and able to be handled by people of all ages, because we got so many cats that the cages were filled up by lovely cats like that. Now that we have some space, we are willing to help some cats, willing and able to help some cats that have minor health problems, or cats that are shy or need a little bit of extra care. So if you are interested in one of those cats, you would find them under a green name tag. Now, Zach has a blue name tag, which means he's ready for anything. He will not be the kind of cat that has to hide under the bed when company comes over. Although any cat can be afraid of new situations, he does pretty well. If you think about it, he was living outside, probably being fed and handled by kind people that didn't exactly take on his ownership. So he ended up here at the shelter and no one is looking for him, and he was not wearing any ID. So he is available to make someone a wonderful pet for the next, say, 15 years possibly. We are back with Jazz, and Jazz is a white and brown tabby male kitten. He is only about 10 months old, so he's got a lot of energy and he's big enough to use it. He is going to make a little bit of a challenge here for Randy. He is a beautiful cat, friendly with people, and this is, you know, he's like a teenager. This is his adolescence, so he wants to get out and about and do stuff. He doesn't realize he's on TV, or I'm sure he would cooperate and put on a show for you. I think he may want to be famous. He is a cat that came to us also as a stray. And this is the time of year where we get a lot of 10 to 12-month-old kittens, as you can tell by the guests that we have on here, because they are coming of age, needing a place to live, and it is possible that people who found them last year would have fed them over the summer, looked for a home for them, and then realized about now that, oh gosh, it's time to neuter them, or they're going to start having kittens, and I really can't afford it, or might have another pet and not be able to afford to take on another. So then they come into the shelter as homeless kitties. But they do have the experience of being handled and treated kindly by people. So they like people. It's just that they don't have a designated family of their own to make sure that they are sheltered and medically provided for. And I would say that Jazz is just about done with his interview. So we will, yes, so we'll be back in a moment with more. We are back with Nelly, and Nelly has kind of an amazing story. First of all, she's 8 years old, and she was brought to us by someone who said, first of all, they had too many animals, and the wife in the family said that the animals need to go. So the husband brought the animals in one by one, and the story that we were told about Nelly is that they had lots of kids, lots of dogs, lots of cats, and that the only thing Nelly would do was hide under the bed. So upon hearing that, of course, our first thought is, oh no, I don't know if we can help her. If she's afraid to come out from under a bed, then certainly in a cage here at the shelter, that might be too hard for her. But surprisingly, so the minute we took her out of the carrier, she's rubbing on people, and she uses her litter box, and she likes food, likes to be picked up by strangers, enjoys handling, being pet the way most cats like it, you know, scratched on the side of the face, scratched on the head. So beautiful green eyes. This is a lovely cat. So whatever her circumstances were that made her hide under the bed for a considerable amount of time, we don't know. But I think she's going to make someone a lovely pet. And because they told us she was 8 years old, we're going to go with that. But of course, we don't know, because they also said she's too shy to come out from under the bed, which is absolutely not the case here. She is a lovely cat, and perhaps she's afraid of dogs. We don't know. But yeah, and Randy, just the best cat of the day. I mean, she can handle the getting in the carrier, getting out of the carrier, getting on laps, being taken out of her cage by a stranger. So I hope you have found some information about cats that'll be helpful to you, or met some cats that you think you can help us find a home for. But we are going to be back after a short break with adoptable dogs and a rabbit. Hope you join us.
Oh, man.
If you're concerned that there is a party taking place where there's underage drinking or drugs being used, or that you've heard that a party is going to take place, there's a tip line that you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's 301-600-1318.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy. Oh, and she even talks to it. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
We are back with our first canine guest. This is Yoda, and I'm sure you can see how he came by his name. He has blue eyes, which is not too common of a trait in dogs, and it does not mean that he's mixed husky. A lot of times people default to that, since huskies have blue eyes, which is really easy to see with him because he's so tiny. We think he's some kind of a Chihuahua mix. He could be mixed with any number of other breeds, Pug or Chihuahua, or Pug or Pomeranian, or something with longer hair and an underbite. which he has. But sometimes those things can be inherited from Chihuahuas themselves. There are long-haired Chihuahuas, and some Chihuahuas have abnormal dentition. So as you can see, Yoda is not a very big dog, and he is not quite a year old. So we are going to, as we do with all of our puppies, take 4 applications for him and find the best match for him. We only get between 200 and 300 puppies a year, and we have more people than that who want to take puppies. And when we adopt out puppies, they have the highest risk of being returned. And sometimes it's very surprising. The people that come in with lots of experience, they've house trained before, they've raised puppies before, and they take home a puppy from us and then 6 months later bring him back and say, gosh, we just forgot how hard it was to have a puppy. We forgot all that was involved and we just can't do it. And what's difficult for the dog when that occurs is that by the time the puppy comes back 6 months later, well, then he's 14 to 18 months old, not as desirable, more active, and more evidently untrained. So we definitely try to prevent that from happening by getting them into a home that will stick the first time. And Yoda is a little shy when you approach him in the cage, so he may not necessarily be the best pet for a busy, loud household. However, if you have dog experience and you're going to be able to introduce him to that gradually, he should see things like umbrellas and wheelchairs and traffic cones and children of all ages and strollers in controlled circumstances where they don't hurt him, so that he learns to take all of those things in stride. And then he's going to be a delightful little dog. Our next guest is Princess, and Princess is a Spitz, and this is all the bigger that she will ever get. She is 6 years old. She was owned, and she came to us with a companion dog, and is used to kids 2 and up, but she primarily lived outside. So Princess is a little nervous being in the kennel, and she didn't have a lot, I don't know how much interaction she had with her own family, but she didn't have a lot of chance to know all of the things that happen in the shelter because she lived outside, you know, so she wouldn't know necessarily about television. She wouldn't necessarily know about stairs, so ceiling fans. So these are all things that she will have to find out about, and actually seems to be doing fine with all the things that she's faced in the shelter. And the family who had her before didn't keep her exclusively outside. It's not that she wasn't allowed in the house, but she primarily lived outside. So that's the experience that she has. Princess is a pretty small dog, so a lot of apartments, condominiums, neighborhood associations might have size limits on dogs. And so if you are looking for a smaller dog that's still doesn't have to be a toy dog, doesn't have to be a purse dog, then Princess might be just right for you. A lot of times people don't want to get a dog that's over 5 years old, and we actually have some rescue groups that will not take dogs over 5 years old because they're harder to place. But here at Frederick County Animal Control, we don't think that age plays into it at all. If she is 8 years old and the average dog lives 12 to 16 years, she has plenty of time left to give. Now, some dogs just don't like dog treats that we have, but in some dogs, not wanting to take a treat from a stranger and not wanting to take a treat when they're a little nervous, perfectly normal. So I cannot tell you at this time if Princess doesn't like pepperoni or she's just a little too nervous to eat right now. But either way, that makes her an intelligent and thoughtful girl, because of course you have seen the dogs on the show that no matter what we do, they will always eat. They don't think twice about it. They don't analyze things. They just go with the flow. Princess is a little more smart than that. She wants to make sure everything's okay and everybody here has her best interest at heart. And of course we do, but it's up to us to prove it to her by finding her the new home that might be out there right now. This is Terry, and Terry is a typical American Pit Bull Terrier mix. Beautiful color of brindle. His ears haven't been cropped, which makes him look much cuter. He has a long tail. His coat is a little thicker than the average pit, so he may be mixed with something that has a double coat, maybe retriever or shepherd. Sometimes we never know what their background is. He can hear Charlotte across the door and he knows her. So Terry has been working with our volunteer trainers on walking on a loose leash and not jumping up on people. He was, yeah, like this. He was owned by a family that had a little Chihuahua, so he does get along with other dogs, even tiny ones. And he was in a household with little kids. And what happened to Terry was the family moved to an apartment where they were only allowed to have one pet. So they kept their Chihuahua, who is older and they've had longer. But also they had a landlord who was concerned about dogs with this breed. And that is a common problem. Right now in Maryland, landlords are responsible for their tenant's dog's damage if the tenant's dog appears to be pit or pit-ish. It is somewhat of a miscarriage of power in the law, how it all came about, but the fact is it exists, and landlords are very reluctant to have any bully breed dogs in their building. So it can be a problem if you want to adopt a dog like this. So what you need to do is own your own home, have dog experience, or have permission from your landlord to have any breed of dog. And what you also might want to do is check with your insurance company and see if you can earn your landlord's trust by talking to your insurance company about how you can protect your landlord. These dogs are no different from any other breed. That is just a fact. There is not one breed that is more dangerous or more liability than any other breed based on all kinds of research. But there is a perception that these dogs are somehow scarier. Maybe it is because of dog fighting. That's one of the things that has given them this reputation. That dogs with big heads are the primary choice of people who fight dogs who are doing so illegally. So they're connected to criminal activity. But the dogs themselves are no different than any other dogs. And it is just a hard time for them. And as you can see, Terry has the softest face. He sits when you ask him to. He's lived with a little dog. He has experience with kids. There's just nothing about him that would make him a difficult dog other than his appearance, which it's a shame that he has to bear since he is a perfectly nice dog. Our trainers and kennel techs will attest to that. So if you are interested in a big, robust pet, then please come and meet our dogs. We do get a number of bully breeds here because they're so popular as pets. And in a minute, we're going to meet a completely different breed of dog that has also in the past had a bad reputation that the breed has far overcome, just like pit bulls someday will. We are back with Toby. And Toby has been in foster care to put on a little bit of weight. He came to us from a house with kids, so he has kid experience. He is clearly a Doberman pinscher. And Dobermans used to be the breed that everyone feared before the media and popular press got a hold of pit bulls. So Dobermans have had their share of landlord restrictions and people crossing the street if you're walking your Doberman. But most of that is in the past now, and people know that they're just like any other dog. They make great family pets. And you can see on Toby that he did not have his ears cropped to have the typical guard dog appearance. And I like that because Dobermans are a mixture of a lot of breeds historically, but they have been Dobermans for over 100 years. And they were bred to be all-purpose traveling dogs. So they are protective and outgoing. And obviously, Toby is a puppy. He's a year old, but he's very young, so he doesn't have a lot of experience doing all of these things. He does sit when you ask him to. And his foster mom will share all the information that she has about him and his beautiful self. So we have a wish list for purebred dogs. So we already called them, and those people that were interested came and looked at him or weren't able to come in. So he is now up for adoption, has gotten out of his foster home, getting built up to be a strong and healthy, friendly boy. So if you are interested in a dog like Toby, then please come by and meet him. He's very pretty. We don't get very many Dobermans in the animal shelter. So if you have hoped to have a Doberman and didn't think that the animal shelter would be a place to look, then now you know. So come on in and meet him and see what you think. If you know anyone who is a Doberman aficionado and might want one, you can share his picture from petfinder.com, or you can share this episode of Pet Pals and help us get the word out and see if we can't find Toby a second home. Bubbles is a male mini Rex rabbit. He is the typical Easter story. This is a situation that we deal with every year. Bubbles was purchased at a pet store in Frederick, and he was taken home for 2 weeks around Easter, and then they decided that they weren't going to keep him. And the pet store said they were able to take the rabbit back, but they needed a week to make room for him. And the people did not want to wait for that. So Bubbles is back looking for a new home, but this time from the shelter. I'm not sure if you can tell on camera, but mini Rexes have the most spectacular fur, and Bubbles is no exception. He's quite beautiful, and his fur is very plush, having no guard hairs, so it's all undercoat. It's reflecting the light, which I hope you can see, like velvet. It's just a beautiful, beautiful rabbit. And Bubbles is pretty young, and he will be neutered before you take him home if you decide that he would make a good match for you. And he was only in his new home for 2 weeks, so we don't know a lot about him. He is a little shy, so I don't think he's been handled a lot. And when you come in to adopt a rabbit, we certainly will talk to you about their behavior. One of the things that you can see Bubbles is doing right now, rubbing his chin on things just like a cat does, and it is for the same reason. He's trying to leave his scent on the bars of this pen so that any future rabbits who are in here will know that he owns it and that he plans to be back. Rabbits have rodent teeth, even though they are not rodents, they're lagomorphs, but they have the 2 long teeth in the front that grow and grow, so they need some things to chew on. And they do wear down their teeth a lot by the grass that they eat, which is the main part of their diet. But they also like to chew safe wood that hasn't been sprayed with any chemicals and doesn't have any oils in it, cardboard, and there are lots of rabbit toys that are appropriate that you can buy on a website like busybunny.com, or you can go to your local pet store and see what they have. Rabbits are pretty agile, and we've talked about them a lot on the show lately, all around the spring season, when we have 10 rabbits in the shelter in need of a home. And many people tell me when they come by the shelter that they didn't even realize we had rabbits. So we definitely want to get the word out that any kind of pet you might want, you may use our wish list feature, which means let us know, and when we get one, we will call you. We get everything. We've even had an emu here, so if there is a pet that you want, let us know. If you don't know if the shelter has it, please give us a call at 301-600-1546, and we will tell you what we have available at any given time. So I thank you for joining us on this episode of Pet Pals. Hope you found out some interesting information about animals, and if you're not ready to adopt quite yet but you want to help us out, then consider sharing this episode of Pet Pals on your social media sites, and you can go to petfinder.com and find pictures of our adoptable pets to place there as well. And there are lots of ways to help the shelter. This is National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week, so you can donate supplies to us. We take old linens. We need animal toys all the time, cages you might not be using. You can volunteer time, and even if you can't come into the shelter, you can do things for us like posting pictures on social media sites. And obviously, the biggest help you can be is to adopt a pet when you are ready. Thanks for joining us, and we're going to see you next time.